Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I am the General Manager of BlackUSA.news. BlackUSA.news is committed to making sure that our community gets information about candidates directly from the candidates. As part of our continuing coverage of Maryland's 2022 election season, we will be replaying shows featuring candidates for office. To find out which shows will be airing when, please don't hesitate to visit www.blackusa.news. Please also make sure that you like and subscribe to make sure that you get updates from Black USA News. Thank you.
Welcome to this week's edition of People Over Politics. We have a brand new guest today, Mckayla Wilkes. She is a fellow advocate, a friend, and she is a candidate. It's election season, y'all. So she is a candidate for District 5, the U.S. Congress. And, I'm very excited to have her on the show today. Thanks for joining us, Mckayla.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Martin.
Yes, and I know it's hectic for you. I know it's early voting time, so I appreciate you taking the time to connect with me and share your message with the voters.
Absolutely, no problem at all.
And so, Mckayla, for people who don't know about you, uh, give them your story. Tell them a little bit about you.
Cool. Yeah. So the way that I got in politics was based off of my personal life experiences being thrown into the school to prison pipeline at a younger age. Essentially, my aunt passed on September 11th, and I wasn't quite sure of how to deal with the grief of losing her. That was the first time I'd ever lost someone that close to me. Um, and so I began to basically act out. I would skip school and run away from home. And the adults in my life, mainly the school administration, they knew everything that I was going through. And they would often pull me to the side and tell me how they understood. But they would say, "We understand how you feel, but if you don't stop doing this, they're going to lock you up." And that's exactly what they did. I spent almost my entire high school career in and out of juvenile detention centers. And it wasn't until maybe my senior year of high school that, because I was put on probation for truancy because of this. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school that the judge ordered that I go through a psych evaluation where they found out that I was clinically depressed. Now, had I gotten those resources before, had they cared to see, what was actually going on with me instead of criminalizing my behavior, I would be better off. But that's what happened to me. And then we fast forward to the year 2015 when I was incarcerated essentially for traffic debt, unable to pay traffic tickets and court fines. And I was incarcerated that year. It was also the same year that I almost died from my health insurance company not wanting to pay for life-saving medications. Um, I have went to the emergency room for about 3 or 4 times, complaining of shortness of breath. Each time my pain wasn't taken seriously. It wasn't until the fourth time that I refused to leave that they found out that I had blood clots. So I had one in my lung and one behind each knee. So I could have died if I would have went home. But that year was a pivotal moment for me because I started to wonder, how is all of this possible? Just reflecting on my whole entire life up until that moment, when I could have died. And I'm just like, how is this possible? How can I be thrown into juvenile detention for my entire high school career? How can I have good health insurance, but they're willing to let me die while I'm pregnant? And how can I be incarcerated because I don't have enough money to pay traffic tickets? Um, and then I heard I was introduced to Bernie Sanders, and he really got me to understand the way that politics works because he spoke very simple about things that I didn't think would ever be realistically talked about on any kind of national platform. And so that's essentially what got me into politics. And in 2018, I saw people like Cori Bush and AOC and Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib run for Congress. And these were regular people who had similar life experiences to myself, and they ran and people took them seriously, and some of them won. And that's what encouraged me to run for Congress, because I'm like, somebody like me, someone that looks like me, is someone who cares about the things that I care about, someone who's been through what I've been through, can be successful at creating fundamental change on the federal level.
Hey, that was a lot. But Mckayla, you have a awesome story, and that's why I was, drawn to you. Just very quickly, two things that you pointed out, and I try to commonly state is how in the health industry, they don't take black women seriously, and they need to take black women more seriously, and that's why I, of course, advocate for more doula services, and doula services to be covered under Medicaid and Medicare, so more people could take benefit of it, right? Because obviously it's expensive if you couldn't pay for it. So and the other thing was the need for people to just over criminalize and over incarcerate, opposed to treating things with compassion and as a mental health issue. So those are two key points you hit on, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And so one of the questions I will ask is why you for this district, right? Like tell the voters why they should pick you. I know why you're my choice, and I support you. Of course, you're not in my district, but I do whatever I can to elevate you.
Absolutely. So why me? Because we need we need more people on every level of government, um, who have been and who are directly impacted, because we're closest to the pain. We understand how policy works. And not only do we understand, but we actually care, because we see what it does to us every single day. Um, the current representative who was in the seat, that I'm running against, Congressman Hoyer, he's been in office for 42 years. That's
Longer than I've been.
almost, yes, for 42 years. And you know, you hear people in the community say, he's been in office for so long, but he hasn't done anything. Nothing has changed. And it's partially correct, because nothing has changed, but nothing has changed for us. But everything has changed for the corporations and for the people who profit off of the pain of the people in our community. And so I think that, people should support me, because we have a diverse district, and our representation should reflect that. And we also need people who are going to push for policies that are going to be better for people in our community. We need to see what we're voting for. We need to see affordable housing. We need to feel the change that they're telling us that we're voting for every election season. Um, and so, yeah, I'd really just, I, I guess that's why me. We just
Well,
need people that are more in touch and that have ties within the community.
well, let me say something just to your credit, Mckayla, of why I support you. Of course, many people, they know that I'm a Democratic leader, not only, in the county, but definitely in the state. I will say that, just being open and completely transparent. I think I told you this. I graduated from Bowie, I think it was 2017, and I interned for Steny. And
Mm-hmm.
mind you, again, this internship came after graduation. I think it was the summer after I graduated. So one of the things is, I think part of it, I was overqualified, for this internship, because it was an unpaid internship for one, and then you really don't do any challenging work, as an intern, at least in that office, to be honest with you. But not to talk about the minutia, but it was more so just about being present. So like, this of course isn't the first time I'm seeing you. So I remember you building the coalition early on, right? And one of the things that I was impressed with was, like, how you got people involved who necessarily weren't political people, right? Like, and you made them figure out what they care about, the issues they care about, and you help them, you empowered them to become advocates for themselves, right? So, that's one of the things I will say I saw. Plus, I could actually say I saw you, right? Like, I've been in politics longer than 10 years, and like the only time I see Steny is on TV, or at like a high profile political event. Outside of that, I don't see Steny in the community. And that's just what it is, and what people accept. But the thought is like more people need to know about your candidacy, and believe in your candidacy, right? Because I think a lot of people are scared to challenge the establishment, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point of being in the community, when I ran for Congress last cycle in 2020, and I'm assuming maybe it was one of Hoyer's staffers or an intern, they were sending us his daily schedule anonymously. And on his schedule, he had all these meetings with, executives and other representatives from around the country. And whenever I hear people say, well, that's the same thing you say, well, he's never around until election time, it's because of his priorities. He prioritizes meeting with those executives and meeting with other reps from all over the country when he could be using that time right here in his own district.
Those perfectly true, perfectly true. And I want to say what a lot of people watching this who might not have a knowledge of the political landscape. Steny Hoyer, he's one of the most powerful Democrats, not only in the state of Maryland, but in the nation, because of his position, right? And I just challenge people to ask, like, what his position has really gotten District 5, right? Like, I outside of course bringing money, but even that, I wonder how much money is spent of those dollars in Prince George's County, especially like in Black and brown communities, right? So that's one question I have, and you might have more information about that, like how the money is spent that comes to the district. But I definitely don't think it's equal in any way.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that. Most of the money that Hoyer brings in from the district or for the district, like he was a most of it, I would say, from my opinion, comes to like Southern Maryland. So like the Charles County, St. Mary's County, Calvert County areas, um, for obvious reasons.
But I thought most of his voting base is in Prince George's. At least that's how he cuts it, or how it gets cut in his favor most of the times.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean that's just strange. That's just strange to me. I mean, I heard that at a barbecue this weekend, and I was like, okay, I wasn't aware of that, but I feel like there'd be more people who are leaders in Prince George's that are upset to hear this,
Yes.
given the political power that some of them supposedly have. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. To segue to a more positive point, Mckayla, what are some highlights that you've learned from past races, and when I say like challenges or issues, not necessarily with the campaign. Of course, you can include the campaign, but about your district. I'm sure there's things you learned about your district, from cycle to cycle.
Yeah, of course. So I would say some of the highlights are, being able to speak with people in the community and learn what they actually care about. Last cycle was a whole lot different because we had a presidential election at the top of the ticket. And so the issues that were being discussed on the ground were kind of nationalized. People were confused about what Medicare for All was. People were confused about what a Green New Deal was. And so the conversations were very different. But this cycle, a lot of people are really focusing a lot on public education, which seems to be a hot topic throughout the district, as well as affordable housing. And interestingly enough, We ran into a bunch of voters who are concerned about the Roe v. Wade decision,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
which isn't a typical issue response that we get from people in the community. But it just goes to show how many people are actually paying attention to what's going on and the political shift, and not only in our district but throughout the country. Um, some of the difficulties within the campaign or with even within the district is basically being shut out by the other establishment Dem. They run their sample ballots. um, it's definitely been a challenge with that regard. Being blacked out by the media has been very difficult as well. But I would say,
And Stinney won't debate you, right? He still didn't debate you.
excuse me.
No, I said, and Stinney won't debate you. He still didn't debate you, right?
Yes, and he will not debate us. So we have those issues, but the positive upside to that is that we're on the ground doing the work, and the establishment, they can stick together. They can send out as many sample ballots as they want to. They can slate with each other as much as they want to, but we're on the ground meeting people where they're at, you know. And that's one thing that I really enjoy about this cycle and being able to do this is that we've been going just to places where regular people go because politics isn't sexy to everybody. So
Sure.
we're meeting people where they're at in the grocery stores. We canvass multiple shopping centers throughout the district, just meeting people while they're shopping, meeting people at the beach, meeting people at the restaurant, just meeting people where they are, and people appreciate that. So I would say that's an upside. It's just being able to do the work and meet folks where they're at and bring them in, which is something that I wish someone would have done for me.
For sure, for sure. And Mckayla, I think we can agree. At least I hope we can agree that I'm not your typical Democrat, right? So
Yes.
uh, I will tell the story of like I don't even know if it was when I met you or when I met your team, more so the core team. And I don't know if they thought I was a spy at first, because I was like a Democratic leader, but like it was pretty funny. But I will say that like from that meeting, I know that a lot of people, came to know that I wasn't a spy and that I a true public servant. So people over politics. There are more people than there are politicians, and that's always been my mantra. But I met Rashad from your campaign, right? So Rashad Lloyd, he's running for state senate. He helped me in the field, helped me win the campaign, and have the most active field campaign that Laurel's ever seen.
Yes.
And
Love Rashad.
yeah, exactly. But it's not just Rashad. It was many great people, on your team. And what was so powerful was that like it was a lot of young people, right? So like there's a lot of old people who are interested in your campaign, but you have so many young people like actively at the core, making decisions. So like I believe that that's the same attitude that you would bring to Capitol Hill, right? Like so if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you'll hire young minority staff.
Absolutely. Our staff is going to be as diverse as it can possibly get, because it's our future. We have all of these people representing us who, no shade and no disrespect to them, but they're not going to be here in the next 10 or 15 years. And these
Sure,
are the people that we have advocating for our future. That's why the world is on fire and they don't care because they're not going to be here when it burns. But it's our future, so we deserve a seat at the table.
sure. And it's not just because it's a young versus old thing, but I think that like, you know, leaders like Stinney, they choose to be out of touch with the populace,
Yeah.
right? So I think that they choose to be out of touch with the populace. One, maybe because it serves their interest, or two, just because they don't know any better, as my mom used to say. But
Yeah.
it could be one of those two things. So, Mckayla, one of the things I wanted to make sure to ask you today was what was the question I had for you? Oh, you are a cannabis advocate. I've seen you're a cannabis advocate. Of course, I'm an advocate myself, and a patient. And so, what do you look to bring to the federal level as far as policy, in relation to cannabis?
Yeah, in relation to cannabis, I call it weed. Sorry, it's just easier for me to call it weed. But in relation to weed, like I would fully advocate for the full legalization of it. Decriminalization is not far enough. And I think that it's long overdue that we release and expunge the records and exonerate every single person that is incarcerated right now because of marijuana. Because we have, you know, marijuana dispensaries, like, you know, making all of this money. They're operating like Apple stores and Amazons. We have GoPuff in DC where you can get marijuana delivered to you like DoorDash. But we got people that are locked up for that right now. Um, so those are some of the things that I would advocate for. Also, the right to grow as well.
The right to grow, and minority ownership, right? Making sure there's
Yes,
minority ownership. Yes.
absolutely. And making sure that the marijuana industry will not be monopolized, so that we can have equitable access to it.
Yes, yes. Speaking facts, okay. And you're a Marylander. So is Maryland going to do right by Black and Brown people with this recreational program? I'm sure you'll be in favor of the referendum in November.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unequivocally.
So you're unequivocally in favor, but do you believe that Maryland, the state of Maryland, will do right by Black and Brown people in the
Oh, do I
recreation?
believe that they will do right? To
Yeah.
be honest, and you know, I am running for Congress, but I am me. I don't trust any form of government to protect Black and Brown people. Um, and so do I believe that they will do right by us? I'm not sure. I think that's something that remains to be seen.
Okay. Okay, and Mckayla, I know that you got a campaign. You got to get back to the polls. So I just wanted to ask you a few quick questions and get you out of here.
Sure.
So the first question I have for you, very simple, changing it up: Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi in a can.
Love it. Pepsi in a can. Okay, go to civil rights leader. Who are you? Who are you doing your book report on? Who are you reading about?
Oh, Fred Hampton.
Hey,
For
I did
sure.
a little dance. You didn't see it. I did a little dance. Absolutely. I appreciate Mr. Hampton. Always, always. I am a revolutionary. And yes, I believe you'll carry that mantra on. And so the very last question I have for you, very easy. Who's your favorite superhero and
Oh my
why?
gosh.
And why?
Um, I don't
'Cause
know if this person is a hero. I'm not really into like superheroes, but and this might lose me some points, but I'm gonna say WandaVision. Even though I guess she's like kind of a villain, but
okay.
I like Wanda. I mess with her.
Okay.
And mainly because I saw a movie, um, and I think it was called Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
and her story, you know, somewhat, even though I guess she was the villain in the story, but I guess I chose her because seeing her story and seeing how she was kind of hurt and her hurt was just displaced.
Hmm.
But to see her persevere from that, in the end, I don't know. It made me want to like her.
Okay. Okay. Well, I got to check out this out. You said it was WandaVision, right?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta check this out. Thanks for the recommendation. And Mckayla, any last words for people, and also tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, my last words for people are get out and vote. Early voting is July the 7th to July the 14th. And we've been at various early voting locations throughout the district, and turnout has been extremely low. And so we need as many people to come out and have their voices heard as possible. Um, so if you can get out and early vote, there's no line virtually anywhere. You walk in and walk straight out. If people would like to get in touch with me, definitely check out our website. It's MckaylaWilkes.com. My email address is on there, as well as links to all of our social media accounts. including a link to make a donation because we're grassroots and we need to raise money all the way up until July the 19th. And my email just goes directly to me, so I'm highly accessible.
Yes, appreciate it. And then also make sure to turn in those mail-in ballots. Make sure to get down there, mail back those mail-in ballots. Get down there to the polls. Exercise your right, but turn in those mail-in ballots as well. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Mckayla. Not
Thanks,
me.
Martin.
We.
Be safe, y'all. Bye.
All right, later. Have a good one.